Get him, John. Notice how smooth he reels.
Or is it a red? It's a red.
Big red.
Big red.
Oh, great big old red grouper. Nice one. Look at the size of that dude, would you? Oh my gosh. Size of that red grouper, would you? John, you did a fantastic job on that, dude.
Look,
Man.
you're right up in that prop. I think it's a red snapper, a giant one.
Yeah, it's a monster. Yeah.
That's a dinosaur there.
What kind of leader do you got on there, John?
60.
All right.
Come up, look at that. Oh. The weight, oh. Wow.
That's a big old goldfish.
Just picture that one, huh?
Yeah, so want to get my rod pulled over. So gotta get out of this tank. I don't want my rod to get pulled over. Don't watch my rod, please.
Yeah.
You want to stand behind him?
Yeah.
Entire trip with a chicken rig. I was a chicken rig fisherman, and
We
but
see that a lot.
He was
Yeah.
that guy.
I was that
A
guy.
lot of newbies.
I was that guy.
They think
and,
they'll land more.
and
fish.
I started listening to the people who were more successful than me, and I started watching them. And finally, I got to be friends with old Ray Mack, and Ray Mack kind of showed me pretty much the ropes of the foundation of everything that I do. But you got to listen to people.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're going to slow your progress down for sure.
And that's what my grandfather always said, and my father has reiterated to me, is he would very sternly, I don't know if it was jokingly, it was before my time, but he would always say, you have one mouth and two ears for a reason, shut up and listen.
Yeah.
And that's what he always used to preach to my father, and my father jokingly said to me, but it's true, especially on a party boat. If you just shut up and listen to what people got to say, sometimes they want to tell you everything they know about fishing, and you'll pick up those little pieces and those gem times where you get someone like Ed Summerall or John Martin or Captain Brian. I love trying to get Captain Brian talking. It's pretty easy sometimes, but but you can definitely learn a lot if you take the time and just sit there and listen. So that's why, in my opinion, one of the reasons I love party boat fishing, because you meet the different people, you get to have camaraderie with a wide range of I don't know how you would word that, but the whole spectrum, and you learn different things from different areas, because everybody fishes a little differently, and that's one great thing about fishing.
Everybody's got a little bit different personality.
Yeah.
You know, and some guys are more aggressive than other guys are more laid back.
Yeah.
But I think when you're party boat fishing, anywhere you are, up and down the coast, all the way to New York, use the tackle that the crew supplies if you don't know.
Yeah.
Because we'd like nothing better. I expect you to make me look good, and I want you to catch just as many fish as you can, and our tackle works. A lot of people I know, they spend a bunch of money on leaders and leads and beads and everything else, you know, and then when you're on a party boat, those are the ones that tend to get tangled up more.
Yeah.
You know,
those unique rigs that don't match anything else.
and I'm sure the guys in New York are using something different than we're using, but if I jumped on a boat anywhere, I would use whatever tackle
Watch what they're doing.
that the boat supplies, because they want you to catch the fish.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be that person that comes with some kind of rig, and you're thinking, at the tackle shop, they're saying, I bet we could sell that to that dude.
Yeah.
I like it.
You see these like
rig. I
chain
don't-
trick chicken rigs made
Yeah.
out of chain. I'm like, what do you expect to catch out of it? But I always try to do, I tell people all the time, Brian will tell you this, they'll say something about like, man, how'd you know that mango was down there or whatever, because during the day especially. And I tell them all the time, I listen to the captain. The captain told me what to do here, you know?
Yeah.
So I listen to the captain all the time.
If we caught him there before, there's a good chance we'll catch him there again.
But that was like just a few trips back. You said this is a good spot for big mangoes and scamps. I put a big pinfish down there, boom, got about a 7 or 8 pound mango. Next bait down, boom, 12-pound scamp.
Yes, sir.
Everybody's like, how'd you do that? I said, I listened to what the captain
Because
told
we
me.
caught him there before.
He told me that's what was there.
My computer's labeled. I
Yeah.
know what I caught there, and probably when I caught it.
I am definitely very envious of Brian's layout in his computer. I'm pretty sure he has almost the entire central eastern Gulf of Mexico mapped from every contour, rock pile. Yes, it's incredible the amount of marks he has.
He
And,
knows where Jimmy Hoffa's buried, I think.
Oh,
He's
yeah?
got that.
He's got it. He's got it all.
One of his marks.
A lot of other stuff buried too. We won't talk about, but ran across him.
Yep.
And I think the 12-hour extreme has seen him too. So it's definitely getting right.
Go get them right now, yeah.
And they're typically pretty consistent through the summer.
They are. We catch more in June and July.
Yeah.
August, it starts, the water's getting real hot.
Yeah.
You know, they get a little tougher to catch. Light tackle is king in August. But right now is a good time to get them. And,
Yeah.
and I'm sure the extreme, they're in and out.
Yeah.
Have a better chance of getting them than we do.
Yeah, you never know. You never know when that little school
know.
is going to show up. But John,
And they look good in the frying pan, too.
I like your style. Yes, they do. Mahi mahi is one of my favorite, but smoked mahi mahi is even better. Mahi mahi fish bread is awesome. But you hit an important point about keeping one in the water. You want to explain that a little bit to our viewers?
Yeah, it kind of goes against your normal feeling when you're out there fishing, because you catch a fish, you want to get him in the boat. They say, get him over the rail. But with mahi-mahi, I don't know exactly why, but if you keep one in the water, they will keep hitting bait. So what you got to do is you got to hook. You have to have the patience and the discipline to hook one up, let it sit there, let the second guy hook one, then you bring yours in and just keep doing that, and you'll catch the entire school if you do that. If you don't, you'll have 20 out there and you'll get 3 of them.
Yep.
Yeah, where you could have had 17 in
Yeah.
the 20.
But it's hard to
You
get
got to
people
be
to do
fishing with a
that.
partner, and you both got to be disciplined.
Yeah.
You got to be disciplined and you got to have good teamwork. So is 50-pound braid with the 60-pound top shot good all-around setup for June 13th trip? No. In my opinion, the all-around setup is going to be monofilament. The only time you really want to, or really only need braid, is when the bite's kind of picky, when we're fishing super deep water, mangrove snapper fishing, light tackle fishing. For red snapper, in my opinion, you don't need braid. They hit and they bite, they swallow it whole. Half the time the hook is down in their throat
And
because
60-60. If you're going to use a braid, use a big top, long top shot, and do 60-60. Why risk losing the fish?
and that's my thing as well, is whenever you do a top shot, people often say that, well, I've got 40-pound braid because I want a lot of line capacity and I want extra sensitivity.
We're not
But if you
pelagic
use-
fishing.
Yeah, exactly. And if you use a heavier top shot and heavier leader than your main line, where's your weak point? Your main line.
Yep.
And if you
equipment
break
you're-
on your lane, on your main line every time, you're
The
gonna have a
equipment
really
you're using
sucky trip.
It should be set for the fish you're targeting. You want
Mm-hmm.
a lot of line if you're trying to catch a pelagic and you know he's going to run with it. When you're grouper fishing, most time I just need enough line to reach the bottom. That bottom fish is not going to run more than just a little ways. With a jack will
Yeah.
run, a gag will run, but they're only going to run 35 or 40 feet, and they're going to rock you down if you let them. So use the equipment for the fish that you're targeting.
Exactly. And the only reason you would have a lot of line capacity and a lot of braid is if you're vertical jigging, if you're flat line fishing,
Bait casting
pitch-
for pelagic. Yeah,
pitch baiting, bottom fishing. Monofilament works with the new rod and reel technology we have with these high-speed reels. You don't need braid. really braid is more kind of like class 103. I jokingly say most of what we do is 101. 102 is casting, holding bottom a little bit more while you're further out, knocker rig fishing with super light leads. And then 103 is braid fishing on the bottom with a full red snapper trip. If you want to use braid in June, you're going to have to be an extremely experienced angler, or you're going to have a very upsetting trip, especially if you use heavier top shot than your main line. You're really setting yourself up for failure. Your top shot is an extension of your main line. It should equal or be less than your braid backing. So if you got 50-pound braid, in my opinion, you're stuck to 50-pound top shot. Really, almost 40-pound is better because
because
if
the
you
braid
break,
is so skinny.
yeah, and if you break, you're going to break in your top shot, not your main line. You're not going to have to retie a line-to-line knot and retie a whole top shot while the bite's going on. You've just lost 20 minutes at one of your better spots.
Absolutely. People see me, I make a bunch of rigs and I hang them off this rail cushion. And people say all the time, are you think you're going to go through that many rigs? And I say, well, it depends on how you look at it. If you're thinking about that I'm going to break that many off the bottom, no. But I tell people, I try to keep it simple. The only way you're going to catch fish is on the bottom.
Yep.
So the more time you can spend on the bottom, the more chances you have to catch a fish. So whatever keeps you on the bottom is the best way to go. You're going red snapper fishing. You got 50 people on the boat,
It's
guys.
going to be a crowded
It is
boat.
going to take patience. And if you're using braid, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't like braid. But mainly it's because I've never really used it.
Old.
Because I'm old. I'm old school. I admit that. I'm ACDC, back in black, man. Some people have commented on my shirt, by the way. But anyway, but if you're going to get with braid, you're going to end up tangled. And you're going to end up in tangles that cost you time. And time is something you cannot get back on a party boat.
And you know that braid is hard to untie, let alone if you're tied up with 3, 4, 5 other people.
Really the only time, in my opinion, that you should be able, or that you should even begin to contemplate switching to braid is if you're using a very high-end rod to where, and you're experienced enough to where you can lift up on the rod, you can feel the lead pick up, you can feel the bait pick up, you know if you're on the bottom, you know if your leader's straight, you know if someone else's line is touching your line. If you can feel the difference between all of those things, you're ready to use braid. If you're not ready. Stick to mono. And with
You'll
the
produce
bull bait,
more fish with the mono.
It's
You'll
all
produce-
I use, and
you'll
I catch
produce-
one or two. That's all I can tell you.
You want to come home with your limit.
Flex.
Use the mono, guys. Come on, give us a break.
And in all honesty, though, you really can catch, obviously, as John pointed out, he only uses mono and it works for him. And a lot of people use mono with great success. I like fishing with a braid backing per gag grouper seasons that are coming up. We're excited about that.
Yes, we are.
Yes, sir. Long, hot summer. Very fishy summer ahead.
I got quite a few gags and red snapper that I released over the last few months, and I tell everyone I'm going to meet you again after June. So that's the hope.
Coming
you
back
soon.
for him.
Yeah, coming back for them.
These new
And
rods.
look how cheap mono is compared to braid, man. Come on, guys. Load up
And when
for-
you use these new rods, like those Bull Bay rods we have in our shop, I mean, you can feel a pinfish fart in 200 foot of water
And-
with
and what's-
mono.
What's the retrieval on this one? 5.5 to 1.
It's none of your business.
I want it. I want that.
It is a very nice reel. The retrieval on this is 45 inches with every revolution.
Holy cow!
That's crazy.
That's a lot. Man.
Yeah, it's
Almost 4 people.
I'm not a
every
math
turn of the
major, and I
handle.
know that's a lot.
It's a 5.1 or 5.8 to 1 high gear ratio, 3 to 1 low gear ratio.
Even 3 to 1 is huge.
Yeah,
You know,
three to 1.
We grew up with them 2 to 1 senators, huh, John?
Yeah, but I got the Saltese is what I use mostly, and they're pretty high.
You have a Saltis?
I guess That's about all I use.
I thought you had all Penn 4,
I don't
6,
have
and 8.
any
That
pins.
was 10 years
I
ago.
don't have any pins. All of my
Jeez,
stuff
Dylan.
is
Every
not.
tackle that I've seen you bring on the boat is either the Daiwa 400. When I say Penn, I mean the old school,
I got Daiwa,
classic style,
Saltiste,
original.
and 400 and a 450, I think, H.
So it's all Daiwa 400, 600H.
Yeah.
Don't touch my
I
reel.
want to see the real.
It's so smooth. It's very addicting.
You
You've
will
noticed I've just
probably
been.
fight the fish so hard you bend the shaft, it'll never hold a bearing.
Yeah, I pretty much use Daiwa mainly because I think they got the best bang for your buck and they take a licking and keep on ticking like the old Timexes, but I'm dating myself.
Yes.
But if you use braid, just understand this, if you use braid on the upcoming snapper trips, you're probably going to hear me say, I can't see that old sewing thread, so I'm just going to cut my line
might
and
get cut.
I'm going to let you go.
Yeah.
People said, somebody asked, you got bad eyesight? I said, no, I got 60-year-old
Oh,
eyesight.
that's real nice, man.
It's
That
hard
is
to
slick.
see that braid when
It's
you're trying
very-
to untangle it.
It
Very
is,
hard.
and you know, your braid pulls tight, and
It just gets tighter.
And we're trying to make sure that everybody's fishing.
But
you know?
if you don't get anything else out of anything I'm saying tonight, I'm telling you, you need to be on the bottom as much as possible. Period.
And that's what I harp in the pre-boarding seminar with the de-hooking rigs. If you're trying to go out there on a 39-hour trip with a pair of pliers or, God forbid, nothing to help you unhook a fish, you are putting yourself at an incredible disadvantage. If you get a pair of those Barracuda de-hookers in the office, I'll show you how to use them real quick.
It only takes a second to figure them out. One fish and you will know how to do it.
And then once you get proficient at it, it's less than a half a second. It's a keeper fish. You shake it off next to you. You are baited up and back down to the bottom within a minute. You are maximizing your time on the bottom. And it's similar to inshore fishing. If you anchor up on the side of a flat and you're chumming out greenbacks and casting out live greenbacks, the only people who do that are charter captains who have clients with them, who are first timers or less experienced, or people who are just trying to catch whatever bites. The super experienced flats fisherman is going to want to cover the largest amount of area and show his bait to more fish using artificial lures and his trolling motor. And it's the same thing out there. The more experienced angler is going to want to get the most amount of bottom time to show his bait to more fish and have the opportunity to catch more quality fish.
There's times we'll catch 50, 60 fish on a stop. You want your 10. You know, you don't want
There's a
somebody else to
finite
catch 'em.
number of fish that are going to bite off that spot. And the only way to capitalize on that is making sure your bait's
'em.
in the water.
There's also, and I agree with exactly what Brian said, but especially during gag season, there's also something to be said for just being on the bottom, period. Because I can't tell you how many times there's hardly no fish come up on a spot, and I'm sitting there, and bang, I've caught some of my biggest grouper on spots where nothing else came up.
And generally, it's when I say, all right, guys, let's go, and I fire the motors up, and we get that motor bite. It's like, bam, the vibration of that engine firing up.
And a lot of more experienced captains, like Brian, like Garrett, like Joe, like my father, like all of us, we will oftentimes start the motors before you make that
Before you
announcement,
make the announcement.
to reel up. You might start talking, but you don't say, hey, guys, reel them up until after you start the motors.
You'd be surprised how many fish you catch right after you fire that motor up. It's
And that's
crazy.
and what's interesting to me is even in 200 foot of water, they respond to that sound on the surface. So when someone yells at you, "Hey, don't slam those lids," or "Don't let that lead slam against the side of the boat," there's something to that because they can hear.
Yeah, sharp noise.
I think,
Sound travels 3 times faster underwater
It's
than it does in
aluminum
air.
boat too.
I-
It's a
I
little
think-
louder than a.
I think one of
glass.
the best things of what you can do about fishing is you got to be honest with yourself. Now, there's nothing. I know people that go out there mainly just to get away. They sleep. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't think you're going to catch as much fish as someone who, like myself, prepares a lot. You don't know how much preparation I've done before I even set on the foot on the boat.
John,
And
you've caused me to get 2 complaints recently, and both of them were related to your live bait. Why do the Regulars Club members who fish more often get larger baits and more of them? They don't. They don't buy them from us.
They
They
catch
spend
their own.
12 hours before the trip going out. I was talking to Damien, a lot of you guys who fish with us a lot. He travels all the way from Atlanta, Georgia with some buddies. He will come in the day before a trip. He will buy shrimp. He will peel them, dehead them, devein them, and brine them in small pieces to make perfect pinfish bait. Then he will go out there the morning of a trip that leaves at 3 p.m. at 5, 6 a.m. and he will pinfish for 6, 7, 8
Till
hours
noon.
and
Yeah.
fill a live bait well and then bring it to the boat, unload his pinfish onto the boat. And when people look and see him pulling out these big pinfish out of his live well, it's not that we gave him bigger pinfish or we held bigger pinfish for John Martin or Damien. It's the fact that these guys are preparing for their trip in a completely different level.
They put in the extra work.
Than the average
Yeah.
angler. And the average angler will typically buy bait from us, which makes it easy. You show up, we have the bait at the dock, we give them to you in a bucket, you load them onto the bucket, and yes, you have to load your own pinfish. Estelle Wolfman and some people have mistaken that in the past. You have to load your own pinfish on
He
those
just like
39-hour
picking on
trips.
you as
And I will
She
occasionally help.
is hopefully watching. But the trick is, with our pinfish, we get orders of 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 pinfish in a day's time. You can't go out there like John Martin or Damien and hook in line one by one 4,000 pinfish and then throw a couple back that weren't big enough to only catch the big ones. We have to go out there and set traps. And FWC has regulations
Right.
for the size trap opening we
We
can
do
have.
not sell select live bait to our select customers. Everybody has the same shot of buying our
and-
with
live bait.
pinfish, with shrimp, it's all the same. We throw them into one well, we pull it out with one net. You might get a couple big ones, you might get a couple small ones, but on the pinfish, only a certain size pinfish can fit through those FWC regulation size trap openings. You will not get a 9-inch pinfish buying them from us unless you get the select bait, which hopefully this summer our bait guy Brian is launching a whole nother side of his business. He's expanding to a couple boats. We've really got a great bait guy, and Brian Harris is way overqualified, super intelligent. He's now got hopefully 3 boats working
Yeah.
with him this summer, and the goal is not only will he have the trap bait, but he'll have a different live bait well for select
And
bait.
he's gonna wanna
so you'll
have-
be able to compete with old John
And
Martin here.
he's gonna have some tournament baits too
Yeah.
for you guys. That
I want
like
everybody
enter
to
the
catch
tournaments.
fish.
Yeah.
Come on down and see us, man. We can hook you up with some tournament baits.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I'm always fishing as hard as I can, and I'm trying to catch as many fish and as big a fish as I can, but I don't ever root against anybody else. I want you to do the same thing. But you mentioned something about Damien, and it goes back to, you said you had complaints. And if you talk to Damien, he will tell you that where he learned,
Nicest guy I've ever met.
where he learned every bit of that from.
Where?
Because he came to me.
He didn't learn being nice from
And
you.
no, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. He came to me and he asked me about the bait fishing.
Yep.
And I told him exactly what I did.
And someone that's funny you bring this up, because the bait fishing thing is now become like a camaraderie thing where Damien, John, a bunch of the guys will go to this one certain area, and I have been asked probably almost a dozen
Where
times
do
in the
they
last
go?
couple weeks where they go. And even by our supporters page, which shout out to our supporters page, really appreciate you guys, and I have not let that cat
We
out of the
wouldn't
bag.
know, and we wouldn't even ask.
I do know exactly where it is, but I
Yeah, 'cause
have not
someone-
let the
He
cat
didn't
out
come
of the
from
bag.
me.
Yeah, but it is definitely strategic where you want to be for those bait fish, and it all has to do with clear water, water movement, bait being present.
And I've been studying it for a long time.
He has, and I'm not going to give that information up. But this is a guy you want to talk to.
I tell people all the time, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, drive 3 hours down here. If you want to know, like, for instance, say the Skyway, which is everybody knows about the Skyway. I say, you know, you get up, meet me out there at like 6:30 in the morning. I'll show you everything I do. And I rarely have anybody take me up on. They just want to have the success
Right.
without putting in the work.
Without the effort.
And where in the world does that apply?
At
Anywhere?
Hubbard's Marina. You watch the videos, you come down, you buy the live bait, we'll supply it to you, we'll make it easy for it. But you're not going to have those monster baits unless, hopefully, this summer Brian is able to get those extra staff members. We'll have the select bait available. You're just going to have to pay for that advantage that John has by waking up early. So either put in that work ahead of the trip or take advantage of Brian Harris and our bait suppliers.
But who's
good
cheating now?
deeds. You
say-
are. You're still cheating. You're the one getting it for free because you're putting in the work. Is that cheating? Is that motivation?
That's prep.
That's your own personal beliefs.
Well, still
how you interpret that.
The funniest thing, Dylan, the funniest story on red snapper fishing. This was about 3 or 4 years ago. Brian was captain. I was actually fishing up on the bow, and I had a really good
the
trip.
best spot in the boat.
And it was 50
Can I
people
say
on
that?
there. And this guy literally came up to Brian and yelled at him, says, I want to know why you're putting this one guy on all the fish. You're putting that dude right there on all the fish. And Brian,
Nothing makes me more upset than that comment.
He
It's
had
like
a lot
Brian,
more faith
Brian,
in my ability than I
yeah,
do.
Brian's been fishing in local waters longer than any of us, but he's really good. He's one of the best, but he cannot put an individual over the fish
one
to
of
make
50.
sure no one else on the boat
He
catches
sure
him.
has some confidence in my ability.
Plus, he doesn't like John that much.
I mean, whenever I win a jackpot, he runs.
It's
You don't.
just because
What you
John
don't see.
tries harder. He fishes all the time.
What
He
you don't
doesn't
see,
get
guys-
rusty. But if you're struggling, talk to me. Talk to one of the mates. We'll hook you up, man. We
They'll
want
really
you
try to make
catch
sure
fish.
John doesn't win.
Yeah, when what you don't see on the
We'll lose
video,
that fish.
what you don't see on the video is
drop
when I
that
win a
fish.
jackpot, Brian gives like 5 last calls. Last call, man, for
Half
the
the
jackpot.
time he
Are you
wins
sure? that-
because everybody doesn't get in it.
Which means you should always
Where
get
it's
in.
recently, I mean, three times recently, there were bigger fish on the boat, but John won because he got in it.
What's that old saying? Oh, yeah. You got to be in it to win it, baby.
You got to be in
Well,
it.
see, I still, it's empty.
But I think he would step his game up if you were in it.
Well, I still maintain that they should weigh the fish and the fisherman
Yeah, of course
Oh.
you do.
because it's a
Of
team
course you do.
effort.
I could weigh in a pinfish and beat you,
Yeah,
John.
Brian would never win.
I win every time
I'd
I
be
bring
careful.
everybody
I'd
home
be
and
careful
break
with
the
him.
boat.
Brian is a dangerous man. All right, let's see. We do not have time for
Thank goodness.
more questions. We are out of time. We were 20 minutes over
We're
time.
yakking.
We're having fun.
We are. This has been a great show.